What are the origins of the digital world? And for today's topic, I want to focus on two Bible verses. First verse is from Ephesians 2:2-4, wherein in time past ye walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of powers of the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. And then the second verse I want to focus on, Ecclesiastes 1:9, the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. But anyway, what are the origins of the digital world? How did we get to this place that we're in right now? I mean, the digital world is such a big part of our lives, and there's not much information of how we even got here to begin with. And to understand the digital world, we need to try and understand, where did the internet come from, or the World Wide Web? And interesting fact about the World Wide Web, Tim Berners-Lee, a British scientist at CERN, invented the World Wide Web, WWW, in 1989. The web was originally conceived and developed to meet the demand for automatic information sharing between scientists and universities and institutes around the world. So that's right, the World Wide Web and the internet's origins actually begin at CERN. And for those of you who don't know what CERN is, it's an organization that happens to house the world's largest machine. And CERN has been rumored using this machine to open up portals to other worlds. Now, whether that's a possibility or not, I don't know, but I know one thing's for sure. Their own scientists have admitted that they are looking for other worlds, and they just so happen to basically invent the World Wide Web. But anyway, back to the origins of the digital world in general. So I already told you guys that the World Wide Web was created at CERN, which also happens to house the world's biggest machine, and they also happen to be trying to find portals to other worlds and try to find other forms of physics in these worlds. But how I got into this rabbit hole is from talking to a friend on Instagram about the digital world and its origins, and he said something very interesting that just sent me down a rabbit hole. A long time ago, I started looking into how we got into the digital world. I started reading every single book on computers, microchips, and code. No book ever explains how we went into the digital world. And at the end, he says, I believe that fallen angels created the digital world to merge our world with the spiritual world. If they get us into the meta, they will have full control of us. So I thought that was very interesting because he does have a point. When you try and search up how we got into the digital world, there's not much information that I can find for you guys besides the origins of the World Wide Web, which happens to be at CERN. And with all that in mind, I want to get back to the Bible verse that I told you guys in the beginning. The first one is Ecclesiastes 1:9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. And keeping this verse in mind, let's get into touchscreen technology such as iPads, iPhones, Androids, computers, laptops. Now, to most of you guys, you assume that this technology is brand new, that back in our past there is no way they had anything as advanced as what we have today. But as Ecclesiastes states, there is nothing new under the sun. What has been done will be done again. And what if I told you guys that touchscreen technology did exist back in the day? However, we think it's just all myth and legend. And what I'm talking about is magic mirrors. We easily dismiss accounts such as these, occult alchemic, but these could be oversimplified descriptions of high-tech from previous generations. We have neither just magic or technology, but possibly a combination of both. Over time, people lost an understanding of magic and these became folk tales. Certain few tried to remake the effects and gave a rise back to occultism. Smart mirror. Paradoxically, these occult and alchemic attempts made technology rediscovered, so we assume that people like Steve Jobs and other developers and inventors of this touchscreen technology, that they just invented something brand new that's never existed before. But what if they didn't? What if this is just rediscovered technology or magic? Cultures have always been fascinated by the ethereal facets of mirrors and the worlds they reflect. There are many legends, tales, and accounts through the world regarding magic mirrors. So yeah, basically back in the old days, according to myth and legends, magic mirrors or scrying mirrors were used to basically do things like see onto other parts of the world or talk to people through other magic mirrors on different parts of the world super far away from you, kind of like FaceTime on iPhones and iPads and stuff like that. There's a guy named John Dee who was an Anglo-Welsh mathematician, astrologer, and occultist and alchemist. He spent much of his time on alchemy, divinations, and hermetic philosophy. One of the strangest objects on display in John Dee's collection is his magic mirror, a somewhat sinister-looking black void. The magic mirror, made out of obsidian, volcanic glass, originates from Mexico. It was previously used by Aztec priests to conjure visions and make prophecies. One similarity is a show on Netflix about technology destroying humanity. It's called Black Mirror and is a reference to cell phone screens. So yeah, as I stated, according to myths and legends found throughout the world, magic mirrors were used to contact people on different parts of the world, and you're able to FaceTime them on these magic mirrors and stuff like that. Basically like our modern technology with FaceTime and the news and stuff like that, social media. And I have a feeling most of us still don't understand how our phones work. How are we able to FaceTime? How does this kind of technology even work? And what we've been taught is this is just physical advanced technology, but what if there's something more spiritual about the technology that we use and about the digital world that we're a part of?
My brother gave me his old phone that was broken, so I had a chance to have a look, and I used the gloves because there are lots of shards in it, and I disassembled the whole thing, and you can see that it's nothing else but a couple of layers of glass and some materials, which I can't really identify. But for instance, this one is really just like film, you know, like a thin layer, and all it is just like a mirror, and that's it, you know. And after that, they don't even care but put in a paper in your smartphone, and that's it, you know, that's it. And they are telling us that we are communicating through this phone and we see whatever we see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a scrying mirror. It's a black mirror, nothing else. I was trying to find some really impressive technology in there, but I couldn't find it. It's all that is. And of course, there will be people, engineers, and they will tell me, yes, this and that is very important, and that creates all that touch and whatnot. But if you have a look at this is really nothing else than black mirror and some glass and some paper and some thin layers of film. Not only that, if you have a look at the camera, that is also just a joke. This camera is capturing what you are and who you are and sending through the ether that image. You know, give me a break. That's just basically a porthole, nothing else.
Anyway, back to the second verse that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Ephesians 2:2-4. Where in time past you walked according to the course of this world, according to, focus on this part, prince of the powers of the air and the spirit now worketh in the children of disobedience. The prince of the power of the air. This is talking about the devil and his minions, you know, like demons and stuff. And it says that he's the prince of the powers of the air. Now, let me ask you guys something. How does the internet work? What if this is talking about modern technology such as internet, radio, Wi-Fi, but back in the past was referred to as magic and sorcery, such as magic mirrors, as I mentioned before? Maybe this is all just rediscovered technology. As the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. What's been done has been done again. And magic mirrors are very similar to TVs, computers, cell phones, etc. Same type of concept. What's really interesting, even some of the words we use for this technology, such as televisions, for example. What do TVs have? TVs have channels. And what are channels? And channels are what? Basically mediums through which you can send a message to its intended audience. In witchcraft, channels are also used as mediums. And then on TV, what do we have? We have news. And what does the news do? They broadcast. Broadcasting. Casting spells. As I stated, there is nothing new under the sun. And to us, this is all just physical technology. We don't think of it as anything spiritual or magic. We think this is all just a physical technology. But like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. What has been done will be done again. And maybe all this technology that we have today is literally just rediscovered magic mirrors. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting to make that connection and what it says in Ecclesiastes about the devil being the prince of the powers of the air. Maybe this is exactly what it's talking about. Because another interesting thing to mention, from studying and looking into demons in the spiritual world, it appears to be that demons are electrical beings. In the New Age world, specifically meditations, there is something called Kundalini or the Kundalini spirit. when performing intense spiritual meditation. What is Kundalini energy? Kundalini is a Sanskrit term from ancient India meaning coiled snake. According to Tantra, Kundalini is described as a dormant potential force within the human organism, which rests as a coiled serpent at the base of the spine. And you can apparently get this Kundalini spirit energy by meditation. Here's how people who practice New Age meditation describe the feeling of Kundalini or Kundalini awakening. When Kundalini unravels due to spiritual practices or in response to life events, it can either move gradually or quickly and explosively in the gut, the heart, or the head. With corresponding symptoms, this can be frightening or blissful and trigger months or sometimes years of new sensations and changes. A partial Kundalini awakening may be perceived as a feeling of electrical energy originating from the legs and expanding into the higher body. Kundalini awakening is not dangerous and does not harm you. Yeah, speak for yourself. But it can be frightful and unsettling, especially when one is not sure what is happening. Kundalini psychosis is a common experience in those that are not prepared mentally and emotionally for the surge of energy released to the head and a sudden awakening causing hallucination or altered states of consciousness that may persist for weeks. Let me tell you what is actually happening when you perform these meditations in New Age. You are inviting demonic entities into your body. Our bodies are like temples, and we have keys to this temple, and we are able to allow whatever spirit we want into our lives. I prefer the Holy Spirit. I am not into this Kundalini. I don't want anything in my body but the Holy Spirit. But you guys have a key, and you can allow whoever you want into your body. And a lot of things you do, whether knowingly or unknowingly, you are inviting spirits into your life and into your body. And that feeling of electrical energy, such as the Kundalini awakening, are actually demons going in and out of your body. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. This is not some kind of spiritual awakening. You are inviting spirits that will wreak havoc in your life. Another thing to mention concerning electrical entities, often in paranormal accounts in buildings and houses, people who experience these paranormal accounts described that their technology was going haywire. The lights were flickering, the radio was going crazy, their TVs were just going wild. For some reason, the technology is always messed with. As I stated, the radio, the TV, the lights flickering, technology is just going haywire. Maybe it's true that these entities, these demonic entities, are electrical in nature.
Have you guys noticed how people today seem angrier, more divided? Have you noticed how they are less willing to connect in the real world? Well, I can tell you it's not your imagination. Social media, dating apps, and the ever-expanding digital landscape are fueling a societal shift, one that's leading us straight into collapse. What started as tools to bring us closer together have now become weapons of division, turning people into bitter, resentful, disconnected individuals. Think about it. Every swipe, every like, every comment influences how we see the world and, more importantly, how we see each other. Instead of uniting us, these platforms are manipulating emotions, breeding hostility. And so we're now living in a culture where outrage is normal. I want to talk about how the digital world is breaking down society, the online relationships, the way we consume information. I think being aware of what I'm talking about is vitally important. So I'm going to explain how this works and why it's creating a generation of people who just can't stand one another. Social media platforms were designed to keep you engaged, but at what cost? The algorithms that run platforms like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, those platforms don't just show you what you like. They show you what will provoke a reaction. You know, there have been studies done that have shown the negative emotions, especially anger and fear, generate more engagement than positive ones. That means the more divisive and controversial the content, the more likely it is to be pushed to the top of your feed. And this is a huge problem in the making. Think about your own experiences. Have you ever scrolled through social media and felt a sudden rush of frustration or even rage? What about depression? It's not by accident. These platforms prioritize content that triggers emotional responses, causing users to develop hostile attitudes towards others who have different opinions. And so over time, this leads to polarization, where people no longer see their opponents as fellow humans, but as enemies. I'm dead serious. Look at dating apps. Dating used to be about getting to know someone on a deeper level. Now it's about swiping left or right based on a split-second judgment. Apps like Tinder and Bumble and Hinge have turned human relationships into a game, reducing people to mere profiles and photos. This has created a culture of disposability, where real emotional connections are replaced with superficial interactions. If you're on a dating app, I seriously recommend, for your own good, get off the dating apps. Delete them. They're stupid. Guys, I'm talking to men here. Men, do you actually think a woman can make a decision about a man just by looking at some pictures? That's not going to work. Men are the visual ones. Ladies, even though men are visual, do you think a man can make a decision about a woman based on a bio with very little information, full of nothing but headshots, friends, and animals? The whole dating app thing is just dumb. The result? People no longer see each other as potential partners, but as temporary distractions. Rejection is constant. Ghosting has become the norm. This endless cycle of instant gratification and disappointment fosters resentment, making people more cynical about relationships and less trusting of others. Over time, this leads to loneliness, bitterness, and ultimately a society where genuine connections are rare. Everybody's getting their heart broken over and over again to varying degrees. Once they get off the app and go out into the real world, they treat people like crap. People no longer have manners. They can't even say hello. How are you? I've noticed people are purposely doing this. Some of them. They send you a message and there is no hello, no nothing. They just start talking. I'm telling you, all these little heartbreaks will absolutely end with a societal collapse. When heartbreak becomes widespread, here's what happens. As more people experience heartbreak, especially due to deception, betrayal, or emotional unavailability, which has been amplified by dating apps and social media, the trust in relationships erodes. When people stop believing in genuine connections, they become more emotionally guarded and detached. So, We get fewer long-term relationships and stable families. We get a society filled with people who struggle to empathize with others. We get a growing belief that relationships are transactional or doomed to fail. People are struggling right now with long-term loneliness, depression, anxiety. And the more people struggle with these issues, there is less community support and more individualism. People begin to seek escapism through substances, gambling, reckless behavior. There's a rise in aggression, blaming the opposite sex, or withdrawing from social life completely. Along with all of that, we see a shift toward casual encounters rather than long-term commitment. Fewer families are being formed, which leads to aging populations, economic slowdowns. We can see this in countries like Japan and South Korea. More single-parent households and a lack of stable role models for future generations. They already have the statistics of what children are more likely to become under single-parent households. Dating apps, social media, hookup culture have created wider gaps between men and women. And so men and women increasingly see each other as adversaries rather than partners, right? Extremist views about dating, relationships, and gender roles gain traction online, and nobody really knows what the hell they're talking about. They've got everyone doing the same thing and nobody does anything. They just meet you and they're already trying to not talk to you. It's insane. Understand, folks, as relationships weaken, so does the ability for people to work together toward common goals. Emotionally unstable individuals are less focused and driven. Men have lost sight of the American dream, the house, picket fence, happily married with 2 to 3 kids and a dog. Having the dog seems to be the only attainable goal. People are chasing material wealth, luxury, and distractions instead of meaningful relationships. And with fewer stable families, financial security is harder to pass down. Let me say this, folks. Relationships are the backbone of civilization, romantic or communal. Without them, everything else starts to fall apart. People are becoming insufferable. Once upon a time, we used to live in a world where disagreements were settled through conversation. Now, social media has created an environment where a single mistake can ruin a person's entire life. We have this cancel culture that has turned the internet into a battleground where people actively seek out reasons to be outraged. Instead of discussions, we have digital witch hunts. The danger here is that it discourages personal growth. People are afraid to express opinions, and instead of learning from mistakes, they are permanently branded and cast out. So as a result, we get this atmosphere of fear and distrust where no one feels safe. Society cannot function when everyone is constantly walking on eggshells, waiting for their turn to be canceled. You see? These social media platforms thrive on engagement, and what better way to keep users hooked than by reinforcing their existing beliefs, right? Isn't that one of the reasons why you go online to watch videos like this one? Think about this. The algorithm feeds you content that aligns with your views while filtering out opposing perspectives. Over time, this creates an illusion that your way of thinking is the only valid one. When people are no longer exposed to different viewpoints, critical thinking dies. Society becomes a collection of isolated groups, and everyone is convinced of their own righteousness, unwilling to listen to anyone outside their bubble. So we get hostility, division, and we get to live in a fractured world where meaningful discussions are replaced with blind rage. Would people say half the things they say online if they were face to face? Probably not. The internet provides a mask of anonymity, allowing people to express their worst thoughts without consequence. This had led to an increase in cyberbullying, harassment, and a general lack of empathy. Forget a lack of empathy. How about no empathy? You engage with people online today and it's like talking to a psychopath. When people interact online, they forget they are speaking to real humans. Every hateful comment, every personal attack, every cruel joke adds another brick to the wall of societal collapse. The more people dehumanize each other, the harder it becomes to rebuild world relationships. You see, social media presents an illusion of perfection. The point is, people showcase the best versions of themselves while hiding their struggles. And we all know that this creates an unattainable standard that leads to widespread insecurity, jealousy, and self-hatred. Instead of building confidence, these platforms breed resentment. People compare themselves to influencers and celebrities, feeling inadequate and bitter. Then it manifests in real-life interactions where people project their frustrations onto others. Over time, negativity becomes an addiction. People crave the rush of engagement, whether it's from arguing in the comments section or exposing someone for their perceived wrongdoings. This addiction to outrage turns everyday users into either victims or aggressors, constantly seeking the next controversy to feed their need for validation. Yes, exactly, a bunch of narcissists that check all the boxes. Hatred becomes normalized. It's no longer about finding solutions, but about winning arguments. And that makes people more hostile and less willing to cooperate. Society cannot function when everyone is at war with each other. We live in a very unique time, a time like no other. As human beings in today's world, we face many issues, probably more now than ever before. All of the things that I have studied and witnessed, as I grow older, I realize that I need God more than ever. The cataclysmic events that are occurring in some of our lives, when these things occur, they are indicators. There are forces at work that are letting you know that first, your thoughts need to be corrected. And you have to know and understand that there are beings all around us that work on our weaknesses, ultimately luring us toward darkness. I've seen the darkness many times, so I have been saved many times. I've come to realize that God allowed those things to happen to me. Some people think God would never do something evil, and I'm telling you, you haven't thought it through. He is the beginning and the end, the Father. Evil could not exist without him. I hear people humanize God all the time. He is not like us. We are like him. We are a representation, in a sense, mainly because of our humanity. People want to know what's going on, but they don't trust the word of the Lord, even if the science shows that it may be true. All they have to do is tell people that it's not, and they'll believe it. I know some people out there are hurting, but understand that these are your trials and tribulations. These are the things that create dramatic shifts in your life. And you can see the world changing. Social media is one of the catalysts for the changes occurring with people. Some people are oblivious to it, so they succumb to it. And this is one of the many indicators of a great fall. I know many of us have to deal with dark things in our lives. And some of us are living in the darkness, right? Wrong. A person may be in a dark place, but that is not the darkness. It's not. It's coming, though. I'm sure you found yourself in that dark state of mind and you lost it. You had succumbed to the wickedness, and the only thing that pulled you from that dark state of mind was a decision you made to escape it. What bound you to it was a mental chain. At the time, you may not have understood why something was happening to you or why God allowed this to happen. But I'm telling you, it always takes the strength of your spirit to get through those times. You see, we are born with certain truths within us. These things were going to happen, and you knew all along. Something inside you told you that there would be major challenges coming in our later years. You knew this. That is why when you hear certain truths about the world, you have that feeling as if you already knew. Nobody had to tell you about it, but when someone did tell you about it, it seemed familiar. So, I want to discuss something we are all familiar with, and this is our current social media construct and its ultimate effect on your spirit. Let me ask you all something. How many of you have tried to do something in a heightened emotional state? And because you went out somewhere in that state of mind, you may have ended up bumping into someone you didn't want to bump into. And I'm not just talking about people you know, I'm talking about people you don't know. In that emotional state, you tend to run into or come into close proximity to some pretty bad people. There are several things happening to us right now that contribute to the downward spiral of our civilization. One of the things that has a huge impact on our way of life is social media. By the way, I have a Twitter account that I never use. I also have a Facebook account that I never use, and an Instagram account that I barely use. Right now, I'm working on a plan to eliminate those accounts and put a system in place to where people can reach out to me via the website. And I'll tell you why in a moment. It is important to understand that what God has instructed of us is truly meant to keep us healthy. But more often than not, people want to question it. They want to know why they should or should not do something. Social media has put us in a strange place, folks. You see, it's not good enough to know that social media ruins lives. People have to know why and how it's going to ruin their life. You know, before the flood came and wiped out almost everybody, they were warned, weren't they? The people of the earth knew what was coming for a very long time, just like today. It wasn't good enough to tell them that they would be wiped out by a great flood if they didn't repent, but they were too ensconced in their lifestyles. They didn't want to give that up. They enjoyed it, even if it meant the end of their life. People are like that today, aren't they? Now, of course, there are many, many things that we do that are unhealthy, but I just want to stay on social media for this discussion. Now, once upon a time, before social media became popular, whenever you spoke with someone, you would either call them or text them. But that conversation was private. It was between you and the other person. Whatever thoughts you had were your own, and whatever thoughts the other person had was their own. Your thoughts are yours, and they are private. I recently heard a discussion about this, and I kind of want to relay that message to you all. So here comes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and as their popularity grew, you begin to see people post things about other people. People begin to post things about their friends, about their cousins, and other family members. They begin to post things about their children. And they would post their thoughts about these people. And they would even post their thoughts about people they didn't know but heard about. And all this is true, and a big mistake. You see, people engaging in this, posting these things through Facebook and Twitter and things like it, other people would write comments, sharing their thoughts about that post, and so now the person reading the comments about their post is affected by some of those comments. And I can tell you, people have gotten divorced, separated, and have done harm to others by this device. This is one of the reasons people are so scary today. This is why they are so fearful. Because people don't share their thoughts in private anymore. They share their thoughts publicly to anyone who's listening. And really the main issue here is you have way too many friends. Outside of the people you interact with in your daily life, you know way too many people online. And way too many people know all the details. This is not healthy. You have way too many people who know way too much about you. That is a lot of opinions coming from different directions. No wonder we get lost and confused more than ever. Because we are constantly getting feedback from all these different people. It has a subconscious effect. We've seen this happen with Instagram. People get the wrong idea. Many people think that because they see someone working out or on a beach, smiling, having a good time with their friends, or maybe they use a face filter to alter their appearance. The people watching, they think that is their life, and then they begin to think about their own life. It causes them to think about their own situation. And so in this cycle, people will say, oh, but it's good to keep up with people. No, it's not. Not in that way. For example, it is not your job to keep up with or get involved in other people's drama. This is how you end up getting surrounded by it. If you are always trying to find out the bad thing that happened to someone, this is a habit that will affect your life. Because you absorb it, it enters your thoughts. What is the reasoning behind people keeping their kids away from adult entertainment? Because they know how it can affect them. So people are engaging in this drama media, and all these different ideas and scenarios are entering their heads. It is natural for people to want to help others, but what happens is people get involved into too many other people's lives. And so when they see bad things happening in their own life, they take all that information they obtained from social media and all that stuff they engaged in becomes their reality. And more things start to become more and more threatening. Anxiety develops. Understand that thoughts become things. You need to tell yourself, cancel, cancel, when you have those negative thoughts come to you. You may think that those are your thoughts, but you'd be mistaken. And you underestimate the power of the dark side. You see, these dark beings are real, and they are all around us, waiting for every moment they can to get at us. These things try to work their way into your life, and you will be able to see their influence come out in other people who live with you and who engage with you. You could be playing in the yard with your kids, and maybe all of a sudden the kid curses. They do something that pushes your buttons. It seems out of character, and so you're like, whoa, where did that come from? It's the spirits. And until people grasp this, until they understand this, they will never get rid of them. I'm not talking about inner demons, I'm talking about real demons. Did you know some of these entities have the names of emotions? And they can work on those negative emotions that are named after them. We have to ground ourselves spiritually as challenges continue to manifest. If we are to get through this, we will stumble, we will fall, and fail at times, yes. And really those are just reminders that we have strayed off the path. And these are the times when you ask God for guidance so that you can get back on the correct path. Folks, there is an army of challenges headed our way, and not everyone is going to make it. But if you are resolved in the beginning, you will not be perplexed, and you will realize that a strong spiritual foundation is what is going to help you survive the future. All those things revealed in Revelation, it is not my job to get you to believe any of that. You know, these quantum computers, they run simulations based on current data, and they can predict with extreme accuracy what the Earth will look like in a few years, how many people will be around, and everything else. Because the computer can make projections based on almost every factor they can feed it. Everything that is going on in space, the weather, it can factor in every country and government, how people respond, act, and behave. It can factor in rising sea levels and temperatures, the money market, resources, supply and demand, everything going on in social media. The computer can take all these factors and provide a projection of the state of the world in the future. If everything continues down this path, and we can clearly see it's getting worse and worse.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. In theory, spiritual entities are energy, and are energy that can be detected by electronic devices such as the Electronic Voice Phenomena Recorder, the EVP. For one example, proponents of this theory consider EVP to be a form of paranormal manifestation, often found in broadcast transmissions received by televisions and radio sets. In theory, apparatus are veiled with the static and/or background noise emanating from the reception of the signals. Others have expounded on this idea with the theory that certain electronic devices could be portals through which energy beings could pass to and from another dimension into the one we inhabit. And some of these electronic devices could include things like your phone, computer, the television. At first glance, this may seem like an eccentric idea, but there have been many precedences for these ideas for such eminent scientists as Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but in October of 1920, Edison announced that he was working on a new machine that would allow people to talk to the dead. In 1933, an article in Modern Mechanics magazine reported on a secret demonstration in this darkened laboratory. According to the article, the team of scientists spent hours closely watching Edison's demonstration for any signal of contact from beyond. But in this instance, none came. Edison died in October of 1931, having never completed his spirit phone. As was too often the case, this was another of Edison's brilliant ideas that he actually appropriated from Nikola Tesla.
In 1899, while working in his Colorado Springs laboratory, Tesla began hearing strange rhythmic sounds on his radio receiver. There were multiple incidences in which Tesla had interpreted what he thought were intelligent signals from space. He believed that the simplest form of communication, such as the interchange of numbers, could represent a form of intelligible transmission from beings from another world. The scientific community rejected this idea, as cosmic radio signals were not even known to exist at the time. The confirmation of the existence of cosmic radiation proved Tesla was actually hearing something. In the early days of analog television signals, a popular form of ghost hunting was to tune the television set to a vacant channel and monitor the static display for any audio or visual apparitions that might indicate some sort of pan-dimensional contact through these haunted TVs. It was later discovered that this static was in fact primarily the electromagnetic cosmic microwave background radiation. The switch from analog to digital television. Television broadcasting signals has resulted in the reception of a higher quality picture and more reliable digital signal than the old analog signal produced, and with the additional effect that the change in signal no longer allows the leftover CMB radiation to appear in the static on the television screen. However, although the static has gone, the phenomena has not gone away. If anything, the proliferation of computers, handheld devices such as iPods or iPhones, as well as television and radio sets, has led to an exponential increase in the particular paranormal manifestation, which has seemed to become intelligently directed and some believe intentionally manipulative and with evil intention. The public awareness of ghosts in the machine only came about in the middle of the 20th century, and then mostly as amusing anecdotes and comical representation of the stories told. With the proliferation of the internet, a new form of chaos magic has been made manifest in the form of the meme. An internet meme is an activity, concept, catchphrase, or a piece of media that gains popularity and spreads rapidly via the internet. Such as with the so-called Momo scare, an internet meme is often helped along by social networking sites and blogs that post and repost popular memes, and in doing so, reinforce the popularity and the power of the memes. Meme magic is a term used to describe the power of sorcery and magic derived from certain internet memes that can transcend the realm of cyberspace and result in real-life consequences. Some have compared it to the occult concept of the egregore, an autonomous psychic entity which influences the thoughts of a group of people.
The digital world, Satan's counterfeit of the spiritual realm. The digital world is a counterfeit spiritual domain, designed to mimic, manipulate, and distort the natural and spiritual order. Through technology, social media, entertainment, and digital experiences, people are being exposed to a shadow copy of spiritual truths, which seduces, distracts, and opens doors to deception without awareness. Every second, millions of eyes scroll, click, and swipe. Invisible forces are shaping what you think, feel, and even who you are, and most people don't even realize it. This isn't just technology, it's a counterfeit world designed to mimic the spiritual, to manipulate desire, and to open doors that should remain closed. Your attention, your mind, your emotions, your spirit, these are the targets. And if left unchecked, the digital world can subtly steal your life, your values, and your destiny. We live in a digital age, but the digital is not neutral. It mirrors the spiritual world. Every notification, every trending video, every social media post has the power to influence your thoughts, your heart, and your soul. Satan has created a digital realm that mimics the spiritual, complete with its own distractions, manipulations, and false doors. This is the digital counterfeit. Think about addictive apps, AI-generated content, viral challenges. What seems innocent can subtly influence your priorities, your desires, and even your morality, physical and emotional ramifications. Digital compromise affects your body and mind. Sleep deprivation, fatigue, anxiety, obsession, compulsive scrolling, all while your spirit slowly drifts away from God's alignment. Emotional manipulation. Every click triggers a reaction, dopamine highs, emotional spikes, envy, pride, lust, or fear. Algorithms are designed to exploit this conditioning behavior without your awareness. Real-world example, consider the teenager scrolling late at night, constantly comparing their life to curated feeds, or the professional trapped in endless notifications. These are not just bad habits, they are spiritual openings. Media, entertainment in doorways, movies, music, streaming platforms, even memes, these are not neutral. They act as doorways, subtly programming values, desires, And behavior's spiritual dimension, every doorway can invite a spiritual influence. Lust, fear, pride, or deception can enter through entertainment just as subtly as a Trojan horse enters a computer system. Real-world example, a viral trend seems harmless until you realize it normalizes pride, rebellion, or selfishness. Media is a tool, but in the wrong hands, it becomes a spiritual weapon. Social influence and behavioral manipulation. Humans are predictable. Social media exploits that predictability through likes, shares, trending content, and FOMO. Your attention and desire are constantly being nudged, shaped, and manipulated. Behavioral psychology. Algorithms understand your behavior better than you do. They know what triggers emotional responses, what content keeps you scrolling, and what patterns of consumption make you vulnerable. Spiritual tie-in. Each nudge, each manipulation, subtly opens doors for counterfeit influence, reshaping values, priorities, and spiritual alignment over time. Stakes and urgency. This isn't just about wasted time. It's about your mind, your relationships, your destiny, and your spiritual alignment. Biblical reminder, 2 Corinthians 10:5 tells us to take every thought captive to obey Christ. If we do not act, our attention, our emotions, and even our spirit are quietly being captured. Real-world parallel, from cyberbullying to addictive apps, from endless comparison to misinformation, the digital world manipulates reality, often without any conscious awareness. In this teaching, we will uncover how the digital world mirrors the spiritual, exposing the counterfeit, revealing the entry points, and equipping you to discern, defend, and operate with kingdom intelligence. By the end of this series, you will no longer be a passive participant. You will understand the digital battlefield, recognize deception, reclaim your attention and spirit, and learn to navigate the digital realm aligned with God's truth. The digital world is a tool. It can serve you or it can enslave you. Today, we begin the journey to discernment, freedom, and kingdom-aligned power. We live in 3 overlapping realities: the spiritual world, the physical world, and now the digital world. Each has its own influence, its own rules, and its own risks. Humanity was created to function primarily in alignment with the spiritual and physical realms. The digital world, however, has emerged as a counterfeit dimension designed to mimic and distort spiritual truths. Biblical principle, Colossians 2:8. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition. This warning reminds us that deception often comes in subtle, enticing forms, masquerading as truth. Section 1, defining the 3 worlds. Spiritual world, the unseen realm where God, angels, and spiritual forces operate. Human souls interact here through faith, prayer, worship, and spiritual discernment. Biblical insight, Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Physical world, the tangible reality we perceive with our senses. Our bodies, relationships, and environment exist here. Digital world, a human-created, virtual realm designed to simulate interaction, experience, and attention rewards. It is crafted to feel real, often mimicking spiritual connection, community, and emotional fulfillment. Behavioral insight, humans naturally seek connection, meaning, and reward. The digital world exploits these instincts, offering imitation experiences that feel satisfying but ultimately open doors to distraction, compromise, and spiritual vulnerability. Section 2, humanity's original design, *, God designed humans to operate in harmony with the spiritual and physical realms, guided by wisdom, purpose, and kingdom alignment. The fall of man, Genesis 3, illustrates how subtle deception in one realm, spiritual temptation in the garden, led to physical, emotional, and spiritual consequences. Humans are wired for attention, discernment, and relational engagement. When misaligned with God's design, external systems exploit this wiring. Real-world analogy, the digital world functions like a counterfeit temple, attractive, engaging, and immersive, but designed to redirect attention and allegiance away from the divine. Section 3, the digital world as a counterfeit spiritual realm, *, the digital realm mimics spiritual realities. Community gives social media groups and online communities. Rewards gives likes, comments, shares, notifications. Influence gives trends, viral content, and authority figures online. Engagement gives time, attention, and emotional investment. Spiritual ramifications. The counterfeit world reprograms desires, prioritizes superficial rewards, and can normalize compromise without immediate awareness. Behavioral insight. Engagement patterns mirror addictive behavior, dopamine-driven loops, attention hijacking, and emotional manipulation. Biblical parallel. Eve's interaction with the serpent, Genesis 3, demonstrates how deceptive imitation of reality can lead to compromise. The digital world operates with a similar pattern: subtle deception, normalized exposure, and enticement of desire. Section 4. Mental and emotional impact. Prolonged digital engagement can lead to anxiety, stress, and distraction, reduced capacity for spiritual discernment, compromised attention and decision-making. Neuroscience insight. Algorithms exploit predictable brain patterns, dopamine spikes, novelty seeking, and social comparison, creating cognitive and emotional hijacking. Physical manifestation. Fatigue, sleep disruption, and compulsive scrolling. Real-world example. Social media users report heightened envy, depression, and emotional dysregulation without realizing the digital world is shaping their mental state and influencing decisions. Section 5. Kingdom perspective and awareness. Kingdom intelligence equips humans to recognize counterfeit realities and align with spiritual truth. Key takeaway: awareness of the three-world framework is the foundation for discernment. 1. Identify the digital realm as counterfeit, enticing but spiritually hollow. 2. Observe your own engagement patterns, attention, emotional response, and compulsive behaviors. 3. Anchor in spiritual and physical reality through prayer, scripture, and intentional living. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Recognize the counterfeit, refuse to be enslaved, and intentionally align with God's design. Begin observing how digital interactions impact your attention, emotion, and spiritual alignment. Document patterns, triggers, and responses. This foundation prepares you for the next module, where we'll explore how the digital world actively mimics and distorts spiritual truths. We explored the three overlapping realities: spiritual, physical, and digital, and how humanity's original design was meant to operate primarily in spiritual alignment. Now we examine the digital world as a deliberate counterfeit, how it mimics, distorts, and seduces spiritual truths, reshaping desires, attention, and even moral alignment without most people realizing it. 2 Corinthians 11:14, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. Just as deception in the spiritual realm can appear as truth, the digital counterfeit often looks harmless or even virtuous while subtly undermining your alignment with God. Section 1. How the digital world mimics spiritual realities. Asterisk. The digital world mirrors spiritual experiences. Asterisk. Community gives social media groups, forums, and online friendships. Rewards and recognition gives likes, shares, comments, trending content. Influence and authority gives online leaders, influencers, and algorithms. Engagement and devotion gives time spent, attention given, and emotional investment. Humans are naturally drawn to connection, affirmation, and influence. The digital world exploits these instincts, offering imitation experiences that feel meaningful, but are spiritually hollow. Online worship streams or digital prayer groups can feel spiritually engaging, yet algorithms prioritize emotional stimulation over true spiritual discernment, subtly training engagement patterns rather than spiritual growth. Eve's encounter with the serpent, Genesis 3, demonstrates the danger of subtle imitation of reality, leading to desire, curiosity, and compromise. Section 2. The mechanics of the counterfeit. Attention engineering platforms design experiences to hijack attention through dopamine-driven loops. Emotional manipulation. Content triggers fear, envy, pride, or desire to increase engagement. Normalization of compromise. Repeated exposure to subtle immorality. Distraction or fear desensitizes users to spiritual and moral compromise. Illusion of connection. Digital relationships mimic spiritual intimacy but often lack accountability, vulnerability, or depth. The digital world functions like a virtual mirage, offering the appearance of nourishment while slowly rewiring attention, desires, and emotional responses. Users often cannot perceive the manipulation because it feels natural, enjoyable, and even productive, masking the spiritual and cognitive intrusion. Section 3. Spiritual implications of the counterfeit. Asterisk. Exposure to digital counterfeits can open doors for spiritual compromise, including distraction, pride, envy, and lust. Subtle deception often goes unnoticed. You may feel drained, anxious, or restless after digital engagement without realizing the spiritual influence at work. Judas Iscariot, Luke 22:3-6, demonstrates how subtle, repeated exposure to influence and temptation can lead to betrayal, even when the environment seems normal. Continuous engagement with curated content feeds comparison and desire, reprogramming emotional responses and priorities, often without conscious awareness. Section 4. Mental, emotional, and physical consequences. Mental, reduced focus, decreased critical thinking, and emotional volatility. Emotional anxiety, envy, depression, or compulsive seeking of validation. Physical fatigue, eye strain, sleep disruption, and stress-related issues. Algorithms exploit predictable brain patterns, reward loops, novelty seeking, and social comparison, making disengagement difficult. The counterfeit digital world restructures attention, priorities, and desire, creating vulnerabilities to both emotional and spiritual compromise. Section 5. Kingdom perspective and discernment. Kingdom intelligence enables recognition of counterfeit experiences versus true spiritual engagement. Practical steps for discernment. 1. Observe emotional responses to digital content. 2. Identify areas where attention or desire is hijacked. 3. Anchor in spiritual disciplines, prayer, scripture, and reflection to counter subtle manipulation. Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Recognition and intentional engagement with truth protects against deception. Begin analyzing your digital engagements. Ask yourself, which experiences feel spiritually nourishing and which feel stimulating but empty. This discernment sets the stage for the next module, where we'll explore how digital deception opens specific entry points into your mind, desires, and spirit.